Hello my lovely Flosstube friends. Well, can you believe it? It's September already. September! Wow! It's nearly autumn. That's scary. Well, today is September, Sunday the 2nd. Temperature in the UK has reduced drastically, so we're down to, as you can see, because we're back in the kitchen. It is rather early in the morning though. It is only sort of 8 o'clock in the morning, so it's not warm yet, but we're destined for around 22 to 23 degrees today and sunny, so it will be a deck day for me. So obviously I had plans for August. I think when I last spoke to you on the 22nd of July, I was telling you that my boss was travelling for most of August, so therefore I was working from home. The idea was to get lots of more stuff done, more stitching done. That didn't pan out quite according to plan, but then does it ever? Do yours? Do any of your plans pan out? Because if they do, you're doing a damn sight better than me, because mine really don't. What's happened? Okay, so there is a real reason as to why I haven't managed to achieve very much this August. So unfortunately, I think I worked from home the last week of July, so it was the Monday to Friday, and then the Friday was the 3rd of August. And unfortunately, my mum had a stroke on the 3rd of August. Thankfully, I was working from home. For those that know, my mum lives on the same plot as me, so she's got her house and I've got my house, and we sort of wave to each other down the garden. So the fact that I was in such close proximity and got to her rather quickly, although at the time when I was talking to her and she was explaining that she'd fell on the floor and she couldn't move her side, the penny still hadn't dropped, because by the time I got to her, she was just sitting on the sofa. She was talking, she didn't look different. She said that the feeling had come back in her hands and her leg, so she could answer all this obvious. I mean, she knew who the president was, she knew who the prime minister was, she knew what her date of birth was, she knew where she was. Everything seemed fine. On face value, she seemed fine. So I didn't consider it an emergency. Stupid me. So obviously I rung here in the UK. Not only have you got the 999 number, which is your emergency number, you've got 911, which is for sort of non-emergencies. So I rung 991 or 911, can't remember. Spoke to someone there. They turned around and said, well, we're going to send an ambulance anyway. So they sent an ambulance. Paramedics turned up. They didn't consider anything too untoward and basically said that they thought that she'd had a TIA. So a mini stroke, for those that don't know what a TIA is. It's quite ironic, because they turned around and said to me, well, normally with TIA patients, because it's classed as a mini stroke, it's more of a warning sign that something big could come if you're not careful, so you need to change something. They normally advise that you go to your GP at your earliest convenience and get tested. But their normal protocol for a TIA is to give the patient aspirin and leave them at home, apparently. I don't know what it's like elsewhere in the world, but that's what they do here in the UK. So they started chatting with Mum, and eventually there just seemed some slight anomalies, very, very slight. So they said, well, look, just out of matter of course, we'll take Mum in and we'll get her a CT scan on her head, just to make sure everything's fine. So it was more power of course than anything else. So they popped her into the ambulance, took her over there. By the time we got to A&E, and obviously I'd followed up in my car, Mum seemed to have slightly deteriorated somewhat. She seemed to be a little bit more vague, a little bit more not quite herself. And it was only at that point that we were sitting in triage with the nurse, and she was running her tests, that I noticed that one side of my mum's face dropped as she smiled at me. And so I quickly pulled the nurse over and said, did you see that? And she said no. And as soon as I told her what happened, that was it. Off we went. Just everything went madness. Needless to say, it was a major stroke my mum had. She was in the hospital for 3 weeks. She had to have vascular surgery. She got moved to a community hospital. But the craziness is, I don't know what it's like anywhere else in the world, but when people have a stroke here, they go onto the hyperacute stroke ward, which is more the medical side of stuff. Got that. So obviously she had 45 minutes of therapies once a day. But obviously for me, I'm like, well, you know, she's still medical and not sound, so they're not going to do too much with her. Then they moved her to the stroke rehabilitation ward, where I thought that they would do a bit more occupational therapy, speech and language therapy, those types of things. Still only 45 minutes. Then they said that they was going to transfer her to a community hospital, which is a stroke rehabilitation unit. It is completely separate. It's not required from a medical perspective. It is just for rehabilitation. And they said that likelihoods would be that she would be there between 4 and 6 weeks. So I was thinking, you know, lots of therapies, you know, morning, afternoon and evening, maybe sort of at least 2 or 3 hours a day of actually doing stuff to sort of get her back home and get her doing the things that she used to do. Do you know what? Even in a community rehabilitation stroke unit, the requirement is filled at 45 minutes. That's right, people. So she sits there for 23 hours and 15 minutes a day, either sleeping or eating, and other than that, she only gets 45 minutes of occupational therapy, speech and language therapy, and physical therapy. And I was like, really? I was like, I'm visiting her for, on average, 3 to 8 hours a day, depending on what day it was. And I spend more time with her than they did. So in the end, I made the judgment call to speak to them and say, well, look, she lives on the same plot. She might live on her own. She lives independently to me, but she does just live at the end of the garden, really. So although she's independent, she still has a lot of support and people and network around her for a lot of the time, although not all of the time. And I went, well, the fact that you're only giving her 45 minutes a day and not, I don't think that's going to be enough to get her home as quickly as we need her home and as quickly as she needs to get out. It was, you know, not boding well for my mum being stuck in there. So the decision was made that we'd give her a trial run at home. She's been home now a week yesterday. And I think it's only then, when she came home, that you realise the limitations and you realise what she can and can't do. Because on face value, you couldn't have told, you know, you wouldn't have been able to tell initially that she'd had a stroke. You could hold conversation with her. I mean, all right, when we first got admitted into the hospital and I said she seemed to deteriorate by the time she'd got to the hospital, she did deteriorate. She turned into someone else. She wasn't my mum. You know, her whole personality changed. She's like as if someone had took all of her filters off. So we knew, you know, you knew then. But then slowly but surely, over the courses of a week or so, slowly but surely you saw more of mum and less of this other person. But you could, you know, when you got just my mum, she was my mum. And she knew everything. You'd never, if you sat down and had a conversation with her, you would never have known she'd had a stroke. Not on face value. Obviously, a lot of the personality, well, I'd say almost all of the personality is back now. So mum is mum again. But the cognitive issues that have come with the stroke. So although mum doesn't physically look like she's had a stroke, her limitations are more processing. So it's more, you know, the simpler things like the process of making a cup of tea. She knows what a cup of tea is. She knows what a cup of tea should look like. She knows the starting bit of how to make a cup of tea. And she knew the ending, but she couldn't do the bit in the middle, the processing. And it seems that 95% of the things that she's tackling now that she's actually home, it is the processing thing that's the problem. So, I mean, even down to when I said to her, you know, well, let's see what we can do and what you can do, and so that we know what we can leave you with for your own devices, and where we need to sort of like say, well, don't do that, wait until someone's around to do that. So we're down to, she can make a cup of tea now, she can use the toaster, she can use the microwave, and we're just starting to work on the hob. The hob's a bit more scary, but, oh, not the hob, sorry, the oven. We're not going near hobs, that's too much multitasking. But other than that, she's all good. Apart from the fact I said to her, well, now that you're actually making sandwiches and using the microwave, we need to go and get you some food. So I said, you need to think what sorts of things you'd like to eat when there's no one around so that you can make it up yourself. And she started laughing. I went, what are you laughing at? And she went, well, you wouldn't believe me. And I went, try me. She went, well, I know I like tomatoes. So I was like, yes, you do like tomatoes. And she went, I know what a tomato looks like. I went, yes. She went, I know what it tastes like. And I was like, I know you do. She went, but I can't remember for the life of me what goes with tomatoes or what I ever used to have with tomatoes. Or even how to cook a tomato. She said, I know there's lots of different ways to have tomatoes. She said, but I can't remember one of them. So this last week, well, this last month, to be honest, has been ups, downs, smiles, laughter, tears, you name it, we've had it. But needless to say, with everything that's been going on, everything else just didn't happen. And even when I wasn't with my mum, I couldn't focus my head on anything. You know, I just aimlessly walk around the garden or aimlessly walk around the house thinking, oh, another few hours and I can go visit. So yeah, that's our August. And no doubt going forwards, we've got a long ways to go. But it's just lovely to have her home and back in her own environment. I think the reality of what goes with it is a little scary, not just for me and my family, but for my mum. So, but like I said, you know, if we just keep doing and relearning, she'll get there. It's just a case of relearning it. So yeah. So that's the crux of August, or the end of July and August. The whole of August shot by and I didn't even see it. I blinked and it was gone. So, in all that time, what did I manage? I did manage some, but it's only really been intermittent. So, the first thing was that I mentioned diamond painting, and I think I was waiting for something to turn up. Well, it did turn up, and I started it. And I started it before my mum had the stroke. And then obviously, while she'd had the stroke, and she was in the hospital and I wasn't allowed to go visit until visiting time, we got bits and pieces done. So this is where we got to on it. And I got this pattern for my daughter because she likes it. And then the other side, there's a girl's face on this side. But so far, so good. This is the one that I ordered from Diamond, or what was it called? Paintwithdiamonds.com. I picked that one up. And it turned up really quickly, and it's zipping up fairly quick. But I sort of started it, got to a certain point, and to be honest, I've sort of stopped now. I know I need to do it, and I will, but just haven't quite got there yet. Yeah. But I will. It will get finished. So yeah, enjoying that. But because of what it is, and once you pull that little bit back, you have to do the whole row. It's sort of, I have to know that I have enough time to do that. And right now, timing is of the essence. I don't really have much of it. If I'm not down here doing my stuff, I'm up with mum. And it's only snippets here and there that I'm actually getting to do anything. So what else do I have? Let's have a little look. This video's all over the place today. Not that I'm not ready for you. I'm always ready for you. So let's have a look. So obviously with so little time for stitching, and before my mum got took into hospital, I did manage to get some done, a smidgen, on my lovely chatelaine. So with over here. So obviously the last time you saw this, I'd done the swans, and I'm just working on these bits down here at the bottom. I'm not quite sure what they are. I think they're like flowers or reeds or something along that lines. So yeah, a little more. My lovely needle minder that was gifted to me with my name on it. But yeah, so a smidgen of progress on that, but the fact that I haven't really had time in the evenings to actually sit and stitch, so to speak, or even have the will or brain power to do it. So what else did I do? Right, so while Mum was in the hospital, obviously there was times that she had a little nap. So when she napped or she was off having her surgery and I was just sort of sitting there waiting, I took a couple of my projects with me. So I did a little bit, and when I say a little bit, I mean a really little bit, of my Frosty Forest. I'm so lame with this. I will start picking this up because obviously we'll start looking at Christmas again soon enough. So this is where I got to. As you can see, it's all off of the thing. I've only got 2 blocks. But I have... Sorry, you're going to have to bear with me. I'm messing around with my daughter's new all singing, all dancing camera to do this video. And first of all, it was that the battery was low, so I had to stop then. Then we've had to stop again because the memory card was full. And I'm like, really? Come on. So this has turned into a saga, just to make a quick video. Right, so where was I? Sorry, diverted again. So here is my Frosty Forest. So I worked on the little trees and I've just started on the snow under the trees. Like I said, basically a token gesture of stitching took place on that one. So I took that into the hospital with me. And then when Mum was having a sleep or was in surgery, I sat and done a bit of stitching on that. But that will, I think, come more into play sort of the closer we get to sort of October, November. So there's that one. What else did I work on? I didn't really work on that much, to be honest, with everything that's been going on. So the next one is my Cricket Collection spring. Sorry about the glare. I'm going to take it out of plastic because then it will be all crinkly as well. Hold that thought. Don't you just love it when you're so organised that you actually put everything away? So I've got the bag with all the stuff in it, but it's on the frame and I've put it away. Honestly, my brain is just not functioning the way it normally does recently. I'm losing so much stuff. I mean, what was I looking for? So I was looking for my squizzers the other day. I thought I'd lost them, couldn't find them. Ordered another pair. Literally, a day before they turned up, guess what? I found them. Oh! Right, so this is where we've got to on spring. You're going to have to excuse the wrinkles and excuse the way that it's on the frame because it doesn't look any better this time than it did last time you saw it, as far as how unpresented it is. This is the one that is on Spring at Lakeside fabric from Chromatic Alchemy. We have started the S and I finished the little flowers at the bottom, finished the P. So that is where we're at. And I do like stitching on this one. I love the little flowers at the bottom. So yeah, so it's going to be nice to get that one done. But again, with this one, I stitch it a bit, put it away a bit, stitch it a bit, put it away a bit. So that is the grand sum total of my stitching as what you knew I was stitching on. So obviously with everything that's been going on, I was like, I need something small. I need smaller projects, but I wanted something different. So I was not bored, because I'm not bored. I just fancied a bit of a change. And I bought some amazing books. So I need to go and get the books now. Doing well. So as I was saying, amazing books. I sat and was in awe of Miss Milky Bar Kids' video regarding her books and bits and pieces. To be honest, up until now, I've never really had any books, or embroidery books. And because I knew I was like looking to try something a little different, before I'd even seen that, obviously because I'd been on YouTube quite a bit, I found I was watching something. Silk shading was what I was watching, which basically is long and short stitch. And when I saw some of the designs and some of the stuff that people did, I was like, wow, I wonder how hard that is. I thought, you know what, I think I'm going to get a book for that, because just because I fancy getting a book. So I got The Beginner's Guide to Silk Shading by Claire Hannam. This book. Look at that. And when I saw it, I mean, this is the reason that I saw it and just couldn't help myself. But the best thing about this book is it runs through the design of how you do it, you know, and how directional stitching and pictures to go with it. Long and short stitch of how you actually do them. What you need, what you do it with, what materials you can use. It's so cool. But I thought, you know what, I'm going to get the book. I mean, look at some of these designs. I mean, that's done on a handbag. I mean, not to say that I would ever be able to do that. And then obviously it's got the, so that was the finished bit of the butterfly. Say for instance the butterfly picture. It actually runs through how you start, where you start, how you start to do the long and short stitches. So I thought, well, do you know what, I'm quite interested in that, so I'll get the book and I'll have a little read. So I was just looking at sort of starting something along that lines, and then Miss Milky Bar Kids video came out, and she was talking about some of the books that she owns. Well, I just couldn't help myself. So the first one, because I've always loved the Jacoby and the crewel work. Had no idea how you do it or what's involved. But once I got this book. So this is the Cruel Intentions by Hazel Blomkamp. I know, her down there. And I mean, some of the stuff in this book is amazing. Like, look at that. So I thought, you know what, I need to get some books. I don't think you can go wrong with having specialty stitches and having some sort of what I call embroidery stitch experience. And since it's something that's always absolutely frightened the pants out of me, and now that I do specialty stitches in my chatelaines, and I'm like, well, I've got no reason to be frightened now. It'll either go good or it'll go bad, and that's about it really. I mean, worst case scenario, you pull it out and you start again. That's where I'm at with it all now. So I thought, well, you know, I might just have a little... I'm not saying that I'll actually do any of these, but even if I use it from the point of technique, I mean, the thing I like about this book is all of the stitches, it's got like little diagrams of how you do them. So anything that I really don't know, I can use YouTube, like the raised herringbone stitch. I can use YouTube or I can use my book. But sometimes YouTube's fine if you can get the right angles, and sometimes you just need to get it right in your mind, which is where I find the book comes in handy. So I've got the Cruel Intentions book, and last but not least is the Royal School of Needlework Book of Embroidery, this one, which has got everything in it. You know, it's got everything from gold work, stump work, bead embroidery, white work, black work, silk shading, canvas work, crewel work. And it has so much stuff in it. So much stuff. It runs through, I mean, like the black work. I mean, look at that. And all the different names for all the different stitches. So I thought, you know what? I need some books. I need some books. So I bought some books. Whether I do anything out of them, I don't know, but I'll definitely use them for reference, if nothing else. Because whilst I was on this I Need Something New, I thought, you know what? There was something I've always wanted to do, and I was never brave enough to do it or even look at it. and that is Hardanger. And I've always loved all that cut work and sort of, not doily work, but I like the idea of the cut threads. And I've always been in awe of it, but always been absolutely petrified of it. Well, where I've sort of, I don't know, gone on this hole, there's no reason to be scared. I think I was on Etsy or on the internet, and I found some of the Loopy-Loo designs. Loopy-Loo designs, obviously they've got their website, but they've also got an Etsy shop. And I saw one of them and I was like, well, that doesn't look too difficult, does it? So I got Loopy-Loo Designs Beginner's Hardanger Part 1. Yes. For those of you that follow my blog, you would have already seen this. Because for some bizarre reason, when I uploaded it to my blog, it normally throws the post, or it normally puts it onto my Facebook. But for some reason or another, this time it didn't. So I don't know if I've got a connection issue that I need to sort out. But yeah, so I decided that I was going to start this one. It comes as a little kit. So it comes with all the instructions, which is fabulous. And they're clear instructions because it actually has, you know, they tell you what step to do where and how to do it. And it's really, really good instructions. And it also comes with the threads. So you get like your threads and your beads. Threads and beads in there. And I think this is a DMC colour as well. And this is how far I got, she says. Oh, I'm losing my needle, people. It's not good, is it? So this is where we got to. So obviously you've got the cloister blocks, but all this here is all cross stitch. That's just your normal stitching. So that is where we've got to. But I'm loving it. I've got to say, absolutely loving it. And it's so easy to just pick up, do a little bit, put it back. That's it. You know, it's not like one of my bigger projects where it's like, you have to get everything out, you have to sit in front of it, you have to get the frame out. And it's not overly testing. Well, so far it's not. I mean, I might get a bit hair raising once we start cutting some threads, but for now, it all just seems to be going. But the one thing is, the cloister blocks, they go so quickly. You do them. It's not like doing cross stitch where, you know, it takes a while to get going. With the cloister blocks, once you sort of start doing them, it gets faster and faster. So the cloister block, in the bit in the middle, I've actually done faster than I've done all of the cross stitching. So, it's not a very good advert for me, is it? I must stitch very slowly is all I can say. So yeah, so I got that. Obviously you can tell that I got, I don't know if it's board waylaid, not quite sure. But basically I did some shopping online, which is never a good thing. I should really not be allowed to get loose on the internet. So because I was looking for sort of beginner Hardanger stuff and Hardanger designs that didn't look overly complicated, you know, nothing that was, you know, gonna frighten the life out of me. Whilst I was thinking, well, you know, I could find some like little freebie patterns and I could just, you know, buy the threads or buy some threads in the colours that I like and stitch them up myself. So I went onto the So-and-So website. It's a bad move, I know. And ended up ordering some pearl cottons, DMCs. And obviously I went with pink, white and grey because I was thinking, well, that would be quite nice. Although, I don't know how this random one got in, but I got one random brown one in 838. I have no idea why I would order a brown one. Because it didn't go with anything else. Because along with all those, I also ordered some more. But they're all greys and whites. with the odd pink thrown in. Look, see, all white. Different ones, of course. Different sizes. So I think I've got 12s, 8s. Yeah, 12s, 8s I've gone with, because obviously along with that I've ordered 2 lots of fabric. So one is 28 count Brittany in grey and a 28 count Jublin in white. So because whilst I was doing the whole, oh, you know, I'll just order some pearl thread so that I can do some, you know, freebie type stuff and see like what little designs I could do and sort of practice, and stumbled, of course, across this lovely chart which I got from So and So. It's a design by Colette Robinson and it's called Hearts Abound, and I loved it. This is the design. It doesn't look too technical, although without doing it, I don't know. But my way of looking at this, so I bought the grey material because I was thinking, well, I'll use the grey fabric and do the white thread work rather than just having it all white. But I've also got white so that I could do it white on white if I wanted to. But again, comes with great instructions, the order of work and stitch guides as to how to do the stitches. So yeah, so once I finish my little once I finish my loopy-loo design beginner hard hanger, providing the cut work and everything goes according to plan on that one, I'm going to start this one. Just so that I've got something other than just cross stitch to do, because I do find that sort of this is just a little bit more refreshing at doing something a little bit different and then coming back to my cross stitch. So yeah. So there you go. That is what I've been doing. Shopping, buying some new crazy stuff just to try it. Because I'm on this whole, I need to try some new stuff. And then, obviously, with the whole new stuff thing going on, I was thinking, well, you know, all of my projects that are the bigger projects all stay on frames, and if they're not on frames, they're rolled up and put into these frame holders. And then my threads just go into one of the plastic wallets with the chart. But obviously now I've got lots of smaller stuff going on, and I'm thinking, I haven't got anywhere to put them. And I don't like carrying around those little plastic things. So, with the amazing help of the Primitive Stitchers tutorial for the bag making, I decided yesterday to go on a bag making mission with some scraps of material that I had. And when I say scraps of material, I didn't even have enough materials to do the lining fabrics in the colours that coordinate, because I was basically using all leftovers and stuff. So I did have one problem with the bag making, and that was that the fusible interface that I had was actually a more heavy duty one, and it didn't have the manufacturer's instructions on it. So when I heated it up and fused it, I think I might have put the iron on a bit of a wrong temperature because it's gone a little bit crinkly. But since these are really for just my use, I thought, you know what, I don't care. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. So I made 3 little baggies following Primitive Stitchers tutorial, which was great, by the way. Although I have done a spot of stitching, it's very minimal. Never in my life have I ever attacked a zip, ever. That was the most frightening thing in the world. So here are my little baggies. So we have this one, and I put some frillies on there, and it's got a zip, and the zip works. Check that out. And then there's my lining fabric. Like I said, you know, some I've got lining fabric that actually matches-ish. This looks also cottagey. Yeah, so I love that one. And then I have a pink one. Again, with ribbon on it. Polka dots, accent colour. I can't remember what interior this one's got. Oh yeah, see this one's got a dark interior with some roses on. So that's baggie number 2. And baggie number 3 is actually in use with my hardanger stuff in it, with my loopy-loo designs, is this one. So again, butterflies, polka dot top, lacy bottom. This one, the interior, I didn't have any fabric that would go even closely with that. So I went a little crazy and put, see look, there's my stuff in there. Let me pull that out of the way. I went a little crazy and just used some red stuff, some red, because that's all I had. But yeah, so that is what that's my grand sum total of a whole month's worth of craziness. So I'm hoping now that the dramas that we've been faced with and sort of the possibilities of where we could end up with have passed, and now we have the starting of our future moving forwards with Mum, knowing that she's coping okay considering all. I mean, obviously with a lot of help from me and my brother and my family, and a bit of relearning, we think that she's going to be okay. So hopefully things will calm down, and with the summer coming towards an end, the garden will slow down, and the stitching will ramp back up. That's the plan, people. That's what we want to see, lots of stitching. I would love to say that I would like to have some goals. I mean, if I could, I would like to think that I can get my spring one done at least by November, I would like to say. Obviously, like I said, I need to start working on my Frosty Forest because it's Christmassy. Grace Faces, I'm afraid, has been totally neglected because I just haven't even got her out, and she's so close to a finish. Oh, I knew there was something else I had to tell you. So you probably don't remember this, but the Twisty band sampler that I stitched, I gifted to my mum. So once my mum was out of hospital and I took her out for a little trip out in the car, we went to a framer, different framer than I would normally go to, but I thought we'll trial them. So I done my mum's piece, the 100 Years From Now, the Lizzie Kate piece, which I self-framed. Only trouble was when Mum hung it up on the wall, at some point it decided to disintegrate and it fell off the wall and the glass broke. So I thought, well, seeing as that one needed reframing and I didn't fancy doing it again so it could land on the floor for her, I took both pieces to the framers and they will be ready, I think, the 13th of September to be picked up. So I will have to post on my video the new framed pieces. But both of those pieces are going to my mum. So my mum's going to have those. So yeah, that's it. Ta-da! Done. August. Done and dusted. It was here, then it was gone. That's how it feels. So September. It's going to be an interesting month, obviously, you know, helping Mum along. So that's going to take some time up. I'm back in London on Monday. So obviously we're ramping back into the normal workload. I've got my dancing competition the end of September, on the 30th of September, I believe, at Blackpool. So yeah, so I'm going to be doing lots of stuff for that as well. So I'd like to think that I'm going to get a fair amount of stitching done, but I'm not going to get upset if I don't, because I know that sort of October, November, December, January, February, March, that's my stitchy time. So watch this space, people. Anyway, for those that have still got some nice weather, I hope you're enjoying it. Continue to enjoy it because it's not going to last much longer, I'm sure. And I will see you all again in a month and hopefully have some more progress. Bit of an update on how Mum's doing. And we'll find out how I got on at my dance competition. We will see. So anyway, take care and bye-bye for now.